Hi, I'm Terry from Ultimate Floor Care, and today I have Theo with me from the Copper Crew. Thanks a million for meeting me, Theo. The idea of today's interview is just to introduce the Copper Crew and talk about their business and how they got where they were. So, as I say, thanks for meeting me, Theo. Okay. What can you tell us about your business?
Well, we started in October 2019, having spotted a gap in the wine market. We thought wine was a bit old, a bit boring, especially in comparison to the craft beer market.
Yeah.
And so we thought we could do something about that. And we've launched 3 wines in cans, a red, a white and a rosé.
Okay.
That we hope are all a bit more engaging, fun and convenient.
Absolutely. I was looking at your website and I see that you mention about the environmental and the sustainability aspects, and that this is a much better way of doing it. Can you just explain to us why is it a better way of doing it?
Yeah, so 2/3 of the carbon footprint of a wine bottle or a bottle of wine comes from the glass and bottle itself.
Okay.
And that is for a number of reasons. I mean, it's partly making the glass bottle, but transporting it, it's much heavier. They take up much more space. We can get about the same amount of volume in half the space with cans versus bottles. And also cans are just infinitely recyclable.
Okay.
Whereas glass degrades.
And you mentioned to me before that you can get more cans in a fridge.
Yeah. You can get about double. Well, you can get twice the volume in a fridge.
Okay, so that sold it to me. Okay, so the wine's more sustainable. That isn't why people drink wine. They don't go to and go, oh yeah, that's more sustainable. Tell me a little bit about the quality of your wine.
Yeah, sure. So all of our wines are award-winning. We've submitted them to various competitions, and they've all done really well. And we also put a lot of emphasis on quality and the production of the wines. So we have a winemaker based in South Africa, in Stellenbosch, whose job it is to source, blend the best wines for cans each year. And we don't have a vineyard, so we're quite flexible with where we source things to make sure that the quality is always excellent.
Okay, that makes sense. So what experience did yourself and Ollie have? Ollie's Theo's business partner, by the way, who's not here today. What experience did yourself and Ollie have in winemaking or wine selling, I suppose?
Not much, really, is the answer.
Okay.
But we have Sam, who's got all of that experience, and where we came in was, I guess, just being consumers who wanted something a little bit different in wine. So we'd spotted that gap in the UK. Okay. And then filled in the other gaps in our experience and knowledge with Sam.
Right. Okay, that's good. Business experience. What's your background?
Yeah, so I used to be a management consultant, so particularly in retail, travel and leisure. Okay. So worked with a variety of really big companies, small companies, and everything in between, to kind of develop their offering, and just kind of a lot of market assessments. So looking at where the gaps are, what they need to do in order to.
Did any of the contacts that you developed? I didn't ask you this before, but did any of the contacts you developed during that period any use to you? Yeah,
there were certainly a few. I mean, there were some within the company that I used to work for who I'm still in touch with, and ask for advice every now and then. They've been brilliant, and they also kind of put me in touch with then a lot of other alumni from the company or clients that they'd worked with who they thought might be helpful.
Right.
And that network has actually been really valuable.
Okay. You know what's coming next?
Go on.
The name Copper Crew.
Yeah, so Ollie and I have known each other since we were 4. So we were at school together, and we've always, we still do, have bright red hair. And so, that was kind of what we were known for. Okay. And it made sense to then bring it into the name of the business. Yeah, that makes total sense.
And they carry through all their branding, all their boxes and everything are orange, and the cans and everything. I probably should have had some products here to show you, but anyway. But yeah, they're here. Here we go.
Yeah, there's our Shannon.
There we go.
There's one of our white wines.
Excellent. So actually, when I met Theo at the Cambridge Food Festival, and that night there was an Ed Sheeran tribute act, on, and I thought he was the Ed Sheeran tribute act. So how have you gone about marketing your business?
Yeah, so a variety of ways, really. One is just kind of ourselves through Instagram, Facebook, building up a mailing list. That's been really valuable. We've also done some more physical stuff, so leafleting, especially around central Cambridge, because that's one of the best places for us to deliver. And now that we're coming out of COVID, much more physical events.
Okay.
So I mean, well, that was where we met.
Yeah, the food show. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
one of the best ways to meet people.
Yeah.
Especially with a product like ours, which is kind of unfamiliar, is to be able to talk people through it.
Actually, yeah. I mean, that's something we've talked about for those who know our growth club. That's something we talked about at the growth club. You cannot beat getting your face in front of people, because people still do buy off of people. You can have the best marketing plan in the world. At the end of the day, it's every business is a people business, and that's what it's all about. Exactly. So awards, you just mentioned you've won awards, and I see you've got write-ups in magazines such as the Good Food magazine, which, as I explained to Theo, I have to take back home to Ireland every month, otherwise my wife doesn't let me in the door. How did you go about getting those write-ups? Did you approach them? Did they approach you?
At the beginning, we approached them. So Ollie did a huge amount of outreach. We sent a lot of samples. If anyone we thought might be interested, they'd get a box, from us. And actually, that worked really well, because there was a lot of interest in canned wine at that point. And then us getting in contact and sending samples was kind of all they needed to light us up. Slightly more recently, kind of back in March, April time, when in COVID went to the rule of 6, everyone was socialising outside. Picnics were big. That was when the kind of national newspapers got interested. And they ran a lot of articles, about best drinks for picnics, best drinks for outdoors. And at that point, they were getting in touch with us, which was much nicer.
You had, because of COVID, these guys had a bad start. They launched their business just pre-COVID, but then, because they persevered, actually your timing wasn't so bad, because as everybody was coming out of lockdown, that whole market for canned wine opened up, and you were in the right place at the right time. I think it's fair to say, which wouldn't have happened if you'd have given up early, or if you hadn't approached the business in the first place. Just the awards there. Do you have to submit your wine to be tasted or tested?
We do. Yeah, we do. So, well, all of them, require at least 2 or 3 cans.
Of course they do,
and then they actually decant it into a bottle. So they pour all of our cans out into a bottle, so that the judges are totally blind, both on what the wine is and also kind of what vessel it comes in. But I mean, that's great, because we've gone up against bottles and we've come away with awards. So
absolutely,
we're thrilled. And then having that medal on there is a real
makes a big difference.
Sign of quality.
That's, as I said, I met Theo at the Cambridge Food Festival. To be honest, was I a bit snobby when they suggested I try this stuff out of a can? Yes, I was. And then I tasted it and I went, actually, this is really good. And I think it was only in the conversation kind of previously that he mentioned to me that it was a blind tasting. So I think with that award thing, that's really interesting. The fact that that's a totally blind tasting. They don't open a can in front of the judge, because that would obviously lead to preconception. So I think that's a really interesting and valid point. So, do you have they proved to be really useful? Do you think in your business?
I think particularly on shelves. So we're in I can't remember 60, 70 shops, and we make sure that any cans we send to them all have stickers on, because consumers, I think, just initially will look at canned wine a bit like is that actually nice stuff? And having an award on there just helps to get kind of over that psychological barrier.
I think if you think about how long it took people to accept screw tops instead of corks, and this is an even bigger leap of faith, really, isn't it? And there is a certain snobbery, let's face it, that goes with wine. I see you got a blog on your website. Do you discipline yourselves to do that? How do you find it a chore? How often do you do it?
We try. The aim is to have it once a week. We'll put a blog post out, and that normally takes about an hour, 2 hours to write. That often slips, but we do want to be more disciplined with it, because, number of reasons. One is they are quite fun to write. They're quite easy to write. And probably most importantly is it is a really good way of driving engagement. And it's often a way of driving engagement with the best customers,
With the right people.
They're the ones who want to know more.
Yeah.
And I guess lastly, it's also quite good at getting new people
Yeah.
onto the website.
Yeah.
We can base each blog post around a series of keywords
Yeah.
that people actually look for on Google.
Yeah. So you can actually, make sure it goes to the right people who are asking those type of questions, really, by making sure the content is correct.
Exactly right.
Which is something that we've asked our guys to do, to use their feedback from their customers to write blogs, and then it goes to the right people. And the other thing that I found is with blogs, as we were saying earlier on, is that you write it once, you spend that hour investment in time or whatever it is, then it sits on your website generating leads and traffic ad infinitum until you take it back down again.
Exactly.
So, it's a chore to do it, but it just sits there. It's a bit like sign writing your van. Actually, you pay for it once, you get it done once, but then until you change the van, that's going to be generating leads all that time.
Exactly.
Thanks for that. Okay, so short, medium and long-term goals. What are they, and how do you expect to achieve them?
Yeah, so I think the short and medium term goals are really to continue to build out the brand, develop it, get it in people's minds so that if they think of canned wine, if they think of Copper Crew, and it's got a very clear set of characteristics to it that we want to be associated with, fun, good wine, unpretentious.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of so important because the brand is where a lot of the value in the business sits, or will sit.
Yeah.
So thinking about kind of really long term, any exit opportunity, whether we want to sell, a major part of that is going to be the brand, because there's a lot of good wine around in the world. That alone doesn't distinguish us from anyone else.
Yeah.
It'll be
down to the branding,
and what people think of the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, it makes total sense. Of course, you've got to find two redheads to buy it off you.
Of course, yeah.
If you had any advice for budding entrepreneurs, what would it be?
I think the first thing would be think about having a co-founder. Just someone to share the highs and the lows with, but also to just lighten the workload.
Yeah.
Split it between two people, because it can. I just imagine it would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I've been overwhelmed sometimes as one of two and even three.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of work that needs to be done. So that would be one thing. And the other would be, don't be put off by what you don't know. As we were saying, I don't really have that much experience in wine. If I'd have waited around until I thought I knew the wine industry as well as, I needed to, I would have still been sat around thinking, maybe I'll start this one.
And you'd have been an alcoholic, of course, because
it just wouldn't have been, a good idea. The best way of actually learning is to get in there and get it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm pretty pleased that was what we did.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You can do all the research in the world. At the end of the day, you've got to make that leap, and you've got to get on with it.
Exactly.
That's good advice. Theo, I've taken up a massive amount of your time because we're on take 3, I think. So I really want to wish you the very best for the business. We're going to be seeing more of Theo. We are doing a promotion with the Copper Crew, which means that you guys are going to have the opportunity to sample some of their wine completely free of charge. You'll get more information of that on the future. We haven't nailed that down exactly what we're going to do with their product yet, but you will be hearing more about it. Can I take this opportunity of wishing you all the best with your business? And it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I thank you very much for all the time that I've wasted of yours this morning.
Not at all. Pleasure.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.